The year is 1656. Your body endures devastating shivers. Your head is throbbing, your muscles are too weak to sit up, and you feel like hard, rotten eggs are poking out of your neck and armpits. In the fever state, you see a strange-looking man approaching, his face covered in a beak-like mask and his body covered from head to toe. He examines you, and without even seeing his face, you know the diagnosis: you have the plague. Plague is known as one of the most terrible and destructive diseases in human history. The disease swept large parts of Africa and Eurasia in 3 separate epidemics from the 6th, 14th and 19th centuries. It killed tens of millions of people, and in the best cases, about 40% of people could survive. The European plague doctor, with a beak mask and a witch's costume, is one of the images most associated with the plague today. He is often found in books and films about the 14th century plague known as the Black Death. The only problem is that it's about as accurate as placing a modern surgeon in the court of Louis XIV at Versailles. Still, the confusion is understandable. The Black Death had several damaging events ahead of it, including a series of devastating outbreaks in Western Europe during the 17th century. It is at this time that the plague doctor really appeared on the scene. First described in the early 17th century, the costume consisted of a hat with transparent eyelets and a beak filled with a disgusting mixture of herbs and compounds. These compounds can include cinnamon, pepper, turpentine, copper lava and snake meat powder. This recipe was inspired by the famous Greco-Roman physician Galen in the 2nd century and was thought to ward off the poisonous air known as miasma. People believed that this bad air spread the plague after coming from swamps and decaying sources, such as dead plants or animal carcasses. In earlier centuries, physicians across Europe carried metal stones filled with similar mixtures, and beaks may have evolved as substitutes for hands. The rest of the outfit, which consisted of an oiled leather cloak, boots, and gloves, served as a rudimentary cloak, probably designed to prevent miasma from entering through skin pores. While this represented an early understanding of how the plague spread from place to place, these doctors didn't know that in most cases, the real culprit was a tiny flea that carried the bacterium, Yersinia pestis, from one person or animal to another. It is possible that the plague doctor's uniform provided unwanted protection against flea bites. However, not enough information is available to know whether gowned physicians performed better than their plainclothes counterparts. Unsurprisingly, this exotic substance has captured the public imagination, despite the fact that its use was limited to a few locations in Italy and France during the 17th and early 18th centuries. Even then, it was looked upon with terrible fascination and was occasionally used to mock the inefficient and corrupt practices of some doctors. Until the 20th century, there was no effective cure for the plague, but that didn't stop doctors, clothed or unclothed, from trying. They consulted the works of previous doctors for guidance, did what they could to ward off the miasma, and prescribed various potions and antidotes. They also relied on pre-modern medical principles. These can include phlegm therapy, which involves draining blood, sometimes huge amounts, in an attempt to remove toxins or restore the body's natural balance. Or cupping, where the rim of a heated glass is placed over swollen lymph nodes in the hope that they will open sooner, a sign that a plague patient is recovering. Or, perhaps the most painful method, cautery, which involves puncturing the lymph nodes with a red-hot poker to release the blackened pus inside. A lot has changed since then. Modern medicine has provided us with the tools to quickly identify bacterial and viral threats and effectively arm ourselves against them. We also have access to technology such as testing kits, masks to prevent the spread of respiratory viruses, and vaccines. We do rigorous testing to make sure they are safe and effective. But some things don't change. We still depend on the courage and compassion of medical professionals who voluntarily put their lives on the line against an invisible aggressor to provide support and comfort to those who need help the most.